So, welcome back to In the Shade, a platform bringing awareness to BIPOC folks that have been murdered or gone missing, also people of color who have been accused and convicted of committing heinous crimes. I'm Jenny Wilson, and
I'm Isabel Ancella, and this is our 17th episode.
is 17 a lucky number?
Sure.
Okay, it is for us.
And I believe this will also be our last episode
Yes,
for the season.
for the season. So let us know your feedback so we can amp up season 2. But it's gonna be our last episode.
Thank you for listening for 17 episodes so far.
You guys are the best hosts. I should not say that. You guys are the best because not all of you identify. You know what? I'm done. That's like not all of you are hosts, but you know what I'm saying. You guys are the homies.
All right. So today's episode is going to be about 14-year-old Emmett Till, who was murdered because he was falsely accused of whistling at white women.
So, a little bit about Emmett Till. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with this case. Maybe not familiar, but at least kind of know about it because it is a huge case. And also it was during the civil rights era. So it's been a case that's just been talked about, at least for me, my entire life, especially because my parents grew up in Birmingham, Alabama during the civil rights era. My parents used to drink out of segregated water fountains, set in segregated part of the restaurant. My dad was telling me a story about it not too long ago. So it's just something that's all I've always known about this story. But there was a couple of facts that I didn't know. But he was born July 25th, 1941. He had a nickname, which I thought was kind of cute and interesting, called Bobo. And then also something interesting that I actually was new for me, that at the age of 5, again, allegedly at the age of 5, Emmett was striking with polio. And so he recovered pretty well, obviously, from having polio. But something that stuck around was the fact that he developed a slight stutter, which I didn't know that.
Interesting.
And again,
I didn't know that either.
It could be, again, this is just allegedly from a couple of our resources, but I just thought that was interesting. And then also, too, something that I obviously definitely knew about, especially with all the murals in Chicago, but he grew up in a middle-class working family, lived in the West Side, okay, which not the West Side, I'm so sorry to the West Side. You guys are awesome, but he grew up in the South Side of Chicago in a predominantly black neighborhood that was lit and still lit at the time. And where black businesses were thriving. It was the mecca of awesome black businesses. So, and I actually believe Chance the Rapper, he's from out south too. But anyways, Till was the only child of Lewis, and I don't know exactly if I'm saying his mom's name correctly, but Mamie, or Mamie Till. And unfortunately, his dad died in World War II, which I actually forgot about. I didn't spark my memory until I started doing research on the case. And I was like, oh, I think I maybe knew of that, but I just thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. And then according to PBS Young, Emmett's personality was infectious. I've heard this from several different resources. He loved playing pranks on people, and he just had a personality that was just no joke. For example, a quote said he loved to tell jokes. And his cousin Wheeler Parker said that he would pay people to tell him jokes. He was just a fun, loving kid, and was just overall just had a great personality. And he would even he was just such a nice kid. He would help his mom with chores because, of course, after his dad died, his mom became a single mom.
Right. So what happened that summer? Let's dive into that.
Let's get straight into it.
In August 1955, Emmett's great uncle Moses Wright, he came up from Mississippi to the south side of Chicago and paid the Till family a visit. On his way back, he was taking Emmett's cousin Wheeler with him to spend time with some of the relatives in the South. And when Emmett heard that his cousin was heading down there, he wanted to go to Mississippi as well.
He's like, it's summer, I want to go get lit. Let's go,
Yeah, I want to hang out with my cousins. I want to go to the South. I want to just not be in Chicago in the summer, right, which is miserable.
Yeah, which is okay. The crazy thing is summers in Chicago, well, back then, because Chicago was still segregated during the 50s, at least 55, summers are lit. Winters, at that point, you might as well just pick up and move to Canada. There's no reason to be there's no reason, but no, yeah.
I've only been to Chicago once, and it was in the summer. And
it was humid as fuck, right?
Brutal.
Yeah, it was humid
brutal.
shit. Yeah.
which I didn't expect.
Catches you off guard, right?
Yeah, because you're so far north, you assume that it's going to be like a milder summer. But because it's, I guess, so close to the lake,
Michigan,
it creates a whole different
dynamic of just hot
environment of like mugginess and heat and all that. And I was like,
I'm sticky for no reason.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But yeah, so he wanted to get out of Chicago for the summer and go south to Mississippi with his cousin and his great uncle. And yeah, he just wanted to have a good summer.
Yeah.
But his mom kind of had other plans for him. She wanted to take a trip to Omaha, Nebraska, and take Emmett with her. But Emmett was really adamant about spending time with his family in the South. And so at some point, his mom finally gave in and said, fine, go out there.
Yeah.
But his mom made sure to tell him to be really careful because it is still, it's still the South, you know. You got to be careful when visiting your family because even though he went to a segregated school in Chicago, he was still, you know, a kid from the North,
right? Going
to the South. Like racism was another level in that time in that region.
Yeah, and it's I'm sorry not to cut you off at all. It was like it's so different because like although like Isabel just said, like he went to a segregated school, it is so different because he lived up north, right? So like going to the South, it was like there was no, and when I mean like no rules for black people, I mean like they're like we could literally do nothing wrong and like die. Like in that instance, like during that time, and obviously still now we have like Ahmaud Arbery and stuff like that, but it's just like one of those things where it's like there was like no rules protecting us from like shit going down, which is it's just like so fucked up. And I know this is definitely a touchy topic, but it's just like so. My mind, I don't know if it's because I'm an analyst or not, but my mind, and like, you know, we both work in like technical fields. It can't wrap, like my mind doesn't wrap around the fact that like my skin color makes me a bad person to some people. Like it just, I don't get it. And we're both like pigmented. So it just is like still like, I like that part doesn't make sense to me. Like how my skin color, I'm seen as like this awful person and, you know, like to these people, like still till today, like in like certain parts of the world when it's like, dude, I like stay at home and I like geek out on like the nerdiest shit ever because I'm a fucking nerd. And so it's just kind of like interesting that like people have this.
We're literally like the most harmless people. And
I know, like we're dog lovers. We fucking rescue dogs. Like we like the things that we do for like our animals, but just in general, like we're just nice people. It's just kind of like. It's still like fucked up.
It doesn't matter how nice you are. It
doesn't matter at all. It's just like society just was not meant for us to win, unfortunately. But look at us. We're thriving.
Look at us. We're
against society's means. But anyhow, that's just something I wanted to like briefly chat about because it's fucked up. But anyways, according to PBS, Emmett joins a group of teenagers, 7 boys and 1 girl, again, allegedly. We heard some conflicting information about this, but this one seemed to be a little bit more consistent, but anyways.
And this is while he's already in Mississippi.
Yep, he's in Money, Mississippi. And so what ended up happening in this situation, they were on the fields like all day picking cotton. And so the group of the teenagers went to Brian's grocery and meat market for refreshments to cool off after like a long day again of like picking fields in the hot sun of fucking Mississippi.
Yeah.
Like,
which also sounds miserable.
That sounds awful. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. I wonder if like Emmett Till knew he was going to be like picking cotton. I kind of like wonder. But yeah, like just being in Mississippi in the hot sun over the summer sounds like I need 5 packs of deodorant. It sounds like I may be chafing. It just sounds like I'm having a terrible time. And I'm in a field picking cotton. The part that was kind of conflicting was there was like one part that said, oh, well, like he was with his cousin and a couple friends. Okay, well, that makes sense because he was with his cousin Wheeler, you know. Mm-hmm. But then also, too, it was just, and then another part said that like yeah, it was just like conflicting. I don't know, that those kind of like things, they were just like conflicting evidence. And I also, like, to be totally transparent, I didn't really know like how to approach that, because it's like I'm trusting PBS, which is a white network, so like it's kind of like annoying, you know what I mean? But anyways, whatever. And CNN too. So anyways, Bryant's Grocery, owned by a white couple, Roy and Carolyn Bryant, which we'll get into them, sells supplies and candy to a primarily black clientele of sharecroppers and their children, which makes sense because they were close to the cotton fields, right? So Emmett goes into the store because he just wanted to buy bubble gum. Again, like, just being a 14-year-old kid who just got done, like, outside all day, you know, like, just wanted to go.
Working a summer
job. Yeah, literally, that's what it was. So some of the kids outside the store, and we'll kind of, like, later say, like, what they kind of heard, but I don't know. This is also kind of conflicting. But some of the kids outside the store said, later said that they heard Emmett whistle at Carolyn Bryant, but this is conflicting information because Carolyn later said that this never happened, but we'll kind of touch base on that later. So that's where some of the information gets kind of weird.
Right. So then so they leave the store and everybody goes home and stuff like that. And then around 2:30 in the morning, Roy Bryant, and Carolyn's husband, and his half-brother, J.W. Millam, they kidnap Emmett from Moses Wright's, his great-uncle's home. Like, they just break in and kidnap this child. And Roy and J.W. Millam, they made Emmett carry a 75-pound cotton gin fan to the bank of the Tallahatchie River. 75 pounds.
That's crazy.
And ordered him to take off his clothes when they got to the river. And then when they got there, they ended up shooting him in the head and gouging out his eyes and fastening a large metal fan used for ginning cotton to his neck with barbed wire, and then pushed his body into the river.
Which is, like, for a 14-year-old child, like, it's really fucked up. And, like, another thing that I also found kind of, I guess, conflicting, like, information too, was that, like, I just, like, don't see how, like, what were they looking to gain from that situation? I guess it's still, at the end of the day, whether it's a black child, a white child, an Asian child, a purple child, an orange child, it's a fucking child. Yeah. You know, like, it's a fucking child.
And it was over an alleged whistle. Yeah, it's not like he stole something or he, like physically assaulted someone. Like, he was whistling.
He literally, like, and, like,
or maybe was whistling.
Yeah, and then, like...
And, like, you're gonna get so worked up over a whistle? Like,
yeah.
What does a whistle mean to you?
Exactly, that you feel like you need to take, like, an innocent child's life.
And not just take a life, like, really brutalize this child.
Like, make an example out of him. Like, setting the stone, like, oh, this is what we do to black people down here. I mean, obviously they were saying the N-word
over
instead.
Nothing.
Over, like, you know, over nothing. But one of, like, the conflicting infos that we saw was that somebody had mentioned something that, like, the children outside of the store said they heard that, like, Emmett said that he had, like, a white girlfriend up north to kind of, like, seem cool. And so they said that they did hear him say, like, hey, baby, to her. But that's, like,
I heard that, too.
That's the conflicting part, because it's like, okay, so first you're telling me you heard him say, hey, baby. And then you're telling me he didn't whistle. And then she's saying years later, like, he didn't whistle. Or wait, like, he didn't deserve what he got. But, oh, wait, like, he did whistle at me and then maybe call me hey, baby. Like, it's just, like, very fucking confusing when getting your information, and I don't mean this in, like, a shady way, but from black history from white sources. Yeah. It's like the consistency with some of the story was a little, like, annoying, if that, like, to be fair. So, yeah, it was just, like, a little annoying. But anyways, On August 29th of 1955, J.W. and Roy Bryant are arrested on kidnapping charges in Leflore County in connection with Till's disappearance. They are jailed in Greenwood, Mississippi, and held without bond, which is fair. And then, to be fair, the governor was like, go ahead. Like, the governor at the time of Mississippi was like, go ahead, like charge them to to the full amount, potentially. So then on August 31st, 1955, 3 days later, Emmett Till's decomposed corpse was pulled from Mississippi's Tallahatchie River. Moses Wright, again his great uncle, identified his body because he was wearing he was wearing a ring with the initials LT, which is his dad's name, Lewis Till. Because it's a ring I think that he either got during World War II, or I can't remember if it's a ring that that his mom had kept to give to Emmett, which is like really kind of like sad and unfortunate. But his mom brings his body back to Chicago and holds an open casket, as the fuck she should, His picture was on Jets magazine, and if any black person knows, growing up in the 90s, 70s, 80s, whatever, your mom had Jets magazine. It was like, we have Essence, we have Ebony, but we have Jets magazine. And it's like a little tiny magazine. It's like this big. But it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's also based out of Chicago too. But they post his open casket picture. From there on, it sparked a nationwide outrage, and civil rights movement was not sleeping on this and said, let's show out and let's show the fuck up. Like, if you're going to do this to somebody, like, let's show people what they are actually doing down south to, like, innocent children, which is, like, crazy to the point where you had people from, I can't remember what exact organization, but I know it was like a Jewish organization that had like even written in like, hey, like this is not cool, like these people should be in jail and things like that. It was just like, I mean, everybody was outraged, and it just sparked like, I can't even remember how many protests happened like in Chicago or in in Birmingham, in Atlanta, and all over like those predominantly black neighborhoods and cities at that time. But so. Convicted versus non-convicted. Okay, so on November 9th, 1955, the grand jury refuses to indict Milam or Ann Bryant for kidnapping. The two white men go free. Why?
This is insane.
Which is like, exactly. And then the fact that like there was no reasoning why. The jury was mainly white, and they just kind of felt like, oh well, he didn't do it, it's fine. And it's like, no, that's just like very fucked up. It's like such a fucked up situation to know that like you can kill children and you just go free for allegedly like whistling. And at what point, Carolyn, you're the first fucking original Karen. I'm sure there's many more of you that were original, but like how the fuck are you like okay with that? Like, you know what I mean? And then like whatever, I get like so pissed thinking about this because it's just like that level of privilege. She obviously
doesn't care because her husband's getting back out.
Yeah, she like doesn't care, and then it's just like. I don't know, it's fucked up. And we kind of had a conversation off camera where we talked about how their like clientele was for like sharecroppers and for like black people. So like after that, people were fucking scared to go. And it's like I don't blame them. I'd be scared to go back to that same store and like be worried to even buy something.
Yeah, or support it.
Yeah, to like support it, even if it is like for convenience, and who knows how long, like how far the other store was for refreshments and things like that.
That's fair.
But I don't know. It's just like the whole thing is just like so fucked up. But like she just has like no remorse, which is crazy to me because as a child.
Yeah. So why? I mean, all of y'all probably know why we're covering this story.
Right.
This case has come back up into the limelight in recent weeks because the original warrant for her arrest was recently found, like the original paper, and people wanted to kind of use that to get her like indicted and like get her taken care of because she obviously lied about what was going on.
Can you imagine if we did that? Like we would be like, oh, we would be so fucked.
We would be in jail already.
We'd be so fucked.
But yeah, so according to Tim Tyson, the author of the book The Blood of Emmett Till, he revealed that Carolyn Bryant actually recanted her testimony admitting that Till had never touched, threatened, or harassed her. So she said that the one reason why her husband and brother-in-law did those things didn't even happen. So they just murdered a child for literally no reason.
Like, literally no reason.
So she also said that nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. And she said that book was published in 2017.
Do you think she was scared to say something because, like, it's 2017 and no longer 1955? Or do you think that she just, like... But I
think in 2017, she's already, like, well into her late 60s, 70s. Yeah. And she's like, my life is already over. I can now admit to my quote-unquote
just so
sins.
Fucked up because, like, nothing happened to her. She literally got to go, like, whatever.
Go on with her life and everything.
So annoying.
Yeah, and so back to that original warrant that was recently found, people wanted to, finally get her arrested and behind bars because she lied to cause the death of a child. And so the warrant was brought in front of a judge again, or a jury again, and this grand jury in Mississippi,
of course,
in 2022 has again declined to indict this white woman who accused a 14-year-old child of making advances to her like 70 years ago.
Which, you know what is like the fucked up part about that? It's just like, that's a prime example of like how much privilege like white people have in America. And I'm not like saying that to like be like, I've had like conversations with people about race before, and they're always like, you're just always talking about race. And then like George Floyd happened, and then everyone who said like fucked up racist shit to me was like, oh wait, you're right. And it's like, what the fuck are you like talking? Like, I've been right, because I literally have been living like being black in America my entire life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. I guess my mind still doesn't understand how like a skin color can mean, like, I don't know. And I don't know. That's just like, I've had a negative experience, but I've had like, I don't know, like your experience like here in the States, because I am not an Asian woman in white America. But
I mean, the pandemic has definitely made shit worse.
Which is like so fucked up. And like people still think they're like, there's nothing wrong. Like, that part like makes no sense to me. Like, still having like friends. The part that's crazy is, I don't know about you, but I have like some friends that have like said like racist shit and then like didn't realize it was racist. Like, I had a friend say to me one time, like, because like their parents are Republicans or whatever, and they're like, oh no, but you're like, they'll be fine with you. You're not like everybody else. And it's just kind of like, what the, like, you still do know, like, I'm black as fuck though, right? Like, I'm just like, I don't know, just like, I don't know. Have you ever had like friends like say things that were like fucked up and then like come back?
I mean,
and
I used to always get stuff like, oh, you're like a Twinkie or whatever. 'Cause you're like,
I used to get Oreo. Okay.
Yellow on the outside, but you act white, which is like, act properly and you listen to white people music or whatever that even means. Like, I don't know what they're expecting me to listen to. Like
it's just fucked
Filipino
up.
folk music. I don't know.
No, it's like, and that's like such like a microaggression that is like so fucked up.
Yeah, it's like meant to be like a compliment.
Like, because they stereotype like a whole group of people that look like us, and they're like, oh, you're actually not what I see on the media. Oh, so no, actually what you're telling me is you're ignorant enough to not do research and to like put people into a box and expect us to be this way because the media tells us that this is how we're supposed to act. But because I not only like, I'll get microaggressions too when I like tell people I have an MBA, and they're like, wow, you did that? And it's like, instead of like congratulations, it'd be like, wow, you actually have an MBA, not realizing. I'm like, oh, so are black people not capable of going to business school? I mean, I don't know. And like, I don't know about like your field, but like, at least like from what I've worked with at like one of my companies, I've never worked with another black person before. And I'm an analyst, right? A data analyst. I've never worked with a black person before. And that kind of like, already sets the tone of how I feel like in corporate America. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know if you had like any like microaggression like situations since like or like in your like work environment.
Yeah.
Or how diverse
always.
is your work or like your environment?
It's majority white.
Okay.
Males. I guess because it's designed, there's more women.
Okay.
I mean, there's not more women than men, but the percentage is higher than in like other professions.
Gotcha.
But where the problem is that like women don't advance as much as men.
Okay, I've seen
that. So like a lot of my peers are diverse and stuff like that, but we don't see that type of diversity in leadership positions. That's always beholden to a white guy.
I definitely agree with you, especially but no, sorry, keep going.
But like the majority of my colleagues are like white people. There'll be like the occasional black person, occasional other Asian person.
Okay.
But still normally the minority.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
What somebody in a call though was that really ticked me off, but I just had to shut my mic off, was somebody said, I really hate plain white rice. And honestly, I'm not that big. I mean, I like rice. I'll eat rice, but I'm more of like a pasta person.
Right.
That's my preferred carb.
Yeah.
But what annoyed me was that she was like, oh, I just hate plain white rice because it tastes like nothing. And then like this like other minority she asked like, oh, what kind of rice? Because like there's a plethora of white rices
Basmati,
out there.
jasmine. There's so many different types of rice.
They're pretty flavorful and aromatic, like very floral or whatever. Right. But she was just like plain white rice. And I was like, okay, it's just too much to even want to unpack in a call with like so many colleagues. And I was just like, okay, just take that.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, because again, I am not an Asian woman in America. What part of that statement? Because I understand where you're coming from, but maybe for our listeners, what part of her statement, not set you off, but triggered was triggering to hear, or the root of it? I guess I'm kind of asking.
Honestly, I can't even put my finger on it. It's just the whole thing of putting everything in a box and just
Gotcha.
writing it off and talking shit about a major staple of Asian culture.
That's what I was looking for. Okay.
I can talk shit about rice.
Right.
You can't talk shit about rice, you know?
No, I feel you.
It's just kind of disrespectful, and then not even being able to communicate why you don't like it and which parts you don't like.
Yeah.
But just to put all of these things into
one box.
One category and claim that it fucking sucks or whatever. It's just an empty filler, and I'm so are, I don't know, just eating potatoes.
Right.
Or I don't know, corn or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. It just hit the wrong nerve for me, and I'm that's not what I needed to hear on a call.
Yeah. And it's also too, it's kind of crazy that you said that, because I had a similar situation. I was in a call recently, and this girl was talking about her neighbor, and the way she was explaining it, it just was sounding like she was talking shit about a black woman, because she said something oh yeah, this girl thought I was looking at her man, and she said to me, and the girl was like kind of ghetto, and I like had to turn my mic off because I'm like, first of all, at what point do you think that that's appropriate to talk about? I'll have to send you the video because it's like I didn't record her, but I recorded like what she said because I just thought, I was like, am I crazy or is this like inappropriate? And then like no one was like telling her that she couldn't say that. And so in those type of environments, you're creating unsafe environments for your black and brown peers because you're making it so that like if we were to say anything or we pop off, like we're a problem. Like we're now officially a problem.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't say any or like just shut down. Like I was like, what kind of rise? Like trying to like find the root of whatever her fucking issue was. But
just, like,
I just didn't just generalizing and like, you know, dismissing something that just like is part of Asian culture.
Yeah, and it's like a huge like it's like and again I'm like for my thing is like going again, I hate being those people like I went to Southeast Asia, but no, going to Vietnam and I actually went to a rice farm, and then when you actually go and you're actually purchasing rice and you're seeing like where it comes from, I mean like it's just like one of those things where it's like rude as fuck, and it's just like generalizing a culture or generalizing something when there's like you asked her like, well, what kind of rice? Similar to like how I felt when that girl said ghetto. That word has a negative, like I said before, negative connotation to black and brown communities, and it's a very inappropriate and offensive word to use, especially in the workplace. And it's like if you say if you say something and it just sounds like it we're kind of like you can just see like the mood's changing or you're not reading the room, just know like just don't fucking say it. Like just certain things like don't have to be a topic at work. Like I don't give a fuck about your neighbor.
There's like several people who were like digging into it, but you could tell that people were uncomfortable, and she just kind of like shrugged it off as like what? It's just rice. It's like it's not just rice.
Right. It's like disrespecting a portion of your culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how are you that unaware of what you're saying? It just doesn't make any sense.
It was just really disrespectful and hurtful, honestly.
Yeah, because it's creating an environment that you don't necessarily feel like safe in to like be your authentic self. I know I can't be authentic at work.
We always get shit on if we bring like our stinky food for lunch and like don't heat up these things in the microwave. Now even rice is fucking annoying.
Like it's like we can't do shit right. You know what I mean? And it's like so fucked up, honestly. No, but thank you for sharing that because I'm just a black woman, and I feel like I hate to say this, but I feel like sometimes when we talk about like racism in America, we're talking about two things. We're talking about black versus white, and there's so many other people in between where like we're not talking. And when we're talking about racism can be between like black versus Asian. It can be like black versus the Latino community. It can be like Latino versus the black community. Like there's so many like different categories of racism. But the one thing that I think that we can definitely all agree on is like you don't want to be a black person in America. Like that's like that's like the one thing that's fucked up is like feeling like you're at the bottom of the barrel. And then also, too, having to work twice as hard, but then work for people who don't give a fuck about you. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, like, is, again, people will be like, oh, well, you guys work in tech, like this glamorous thing. But tech has its upsides down, too. It's mainly, like, white bros. You know what I mean? And then, like, it just fucked up. Like, it's so crazy. This happened to me one time. I was going to have an interview for a business analyst position. The guy never talked to me. The guy never messaged me. The recruiter reached out. And my resume obviously had that I was a business analyst on it. He looked at my LinkedIn, and they said to me that they're going to move forward with other candidates, all because he saw what I looked like on LinkedIn. And it's like, because every single thing on that job description was on my resume. So it was kind of just like, okay. And I feel like kind of, too, I have to work like twice as hard as being like the token black girl on any team or like the nerd, which is so fucking annoying. And it's just kind of like when I was working at this like internal ad agency, this person was like, oh, you need to talk to this other girl. You need to talk to this other girl. I didn't know who she was talking about. And she's like, so-and-so is a vegetarian. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll talk to her. I'm like, I'm not a vegetarian, though. It ended up being a black girl who was a pescatarian. Oh. And it was just like, what the fuck? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just kind of is like, do you not get it? And I don't know. It's just like very fucked
Yeah,
up.
what also kind of gets me is when people call women at work girls. That kind
Yeah.
of bothers me too. That's getting into like feminism now, but
Yeah.
it's just like I would never reference to a colleague as a boy.
Yeah, because then we're like then we be considered unprofessional. But like if I'm at work and I'm like, hey girl, what's up? That's different.
That's different.
Versus like someone that I don't know saying like, hey girl, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm a grown ass woman. This is a grown ass woman body, okay? It's
Yeah.
not a like this is not a
Yeah.
teenage girl's like body and
Same.
stuff like that. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, I'll do that to like my friends or whatever.
yeah.
But I don't like when people, especially men, reference to my female colleagues as girls. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
because it's just
she's
like
not a girl. She's like 41 years old.
she's a full-fledged woman. Like, what do you mean a girl?
Her
Like,
children are girls.
yeah, like her children are girls, but not her. I don't know. There's so
Yeah.
many like microaggressions that go on in the workplace that are just like so fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
and I just don't think people understand. Like, I have there's a situation that happened in this person said was like I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe this, so I'm also protecting myself because I feel like I work in an unprotected environment that doesn't protect me, well, at least like my corporate job. And she actually tried to, she felt like she tried to get me fired because she told my manager that I wanted to quit. And it was just kind of like, but you're the same person that goes on social media. George Floyd matters, Black Lives Matter, but you treat your black employees like shit, and you still want me to do work for you? So, like, and that reference, that's tapping in, if we're going to go deeper, I talked about this with my therapist, it's tapping back into that, like, slave mentality. I can do whatever the fuck I want to you, and then try to like ruin your life, but you're still gonna need this job. I mean, she doesn't know my other side hustles, so fuck you. But it's just kind of like you're the same person that's like adamant about Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, and even asked me when it was time for the company to put out a George Floyd statement, and you said, oh, it took so long, how do you feel about it? But you're the same one gaslighting me and being an asshole. It's like the hypocrisy. Like, if you're going to be about it, be about it. But I cannot fucking stand when people are like, Asian lives matter and Black lives matter. But you're the same person treating your, like, counterparts and coworkers like shit that are Black and Asian. It just is like the hypocrisy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Black employees, Asian employees don't treat their white employees like poorly. But all I'm saying is, like, we're a little bit more vulnerable because we have to come twice as hard, and we have to work twice as hard and make sure we're like twice as mindful. And so it just kind of is like fucked up. And then lastly, let me know how you would feel about this. I had another microaggression happen where my coworker said to my other coworker, oh, your hair looks so nice, you do something different. Her hair was curly, and at the time, like, I didn't have like my faux dreads, I had my like natural hair out. And we're all on camera. And she's like, yeah, I don't really like curly hair. I like feel like straight hair is so much easier to have. Now, what she doesn't realize, you've tapped back all the way into, like, not even the civil rights era, but back to, like, slavery when we were brought over here and like the hair test. And it's kind of just like, but she doesn't even know because she's so ignorant. She doesn't even know what she's saying is like a potential trigger. Because I've grown up my whole life, like, going from perms, doing weaves, because I always had to, like, make sure my hair, had to, like, look a certain way. But it's like, just don't fucking have those conversations at work. Because, like, now I don't want to fuck with her. I don't want to work with her. I think she's a problem. And she's like, I don't know, whatever. We can go on rants about this, but.
Like, considerate.
Yeah, considerate. And also, too, stop fucking asking.
Even if she didn't mean it out of malice, but, like, you see there's a person of color, a Black person on the call. You know, understand their background. Yeah. You know what could trigger them. Yeah. And don't say dumb shit. Like, even if that's how you feel, like, and you don't mean it about, like, you know, Black hair. Yeah. And you really just prefer your hair to be, like, straight because it's easier to, or whatever. Right. But just be mindful that could be a trigger for other people.
Yeah. Which is, like, so fucked up. And I just like don't know how people don't see when they're wrong. I had a coworker. She was on a team, and it was like a team of everyone was Asian. Because it's like I can't remember exactly, but I know it was like one individual was Vietnamese. She's Filipino, and then another coworker was Chinese. And they asked like, oh, what should our team name be? Why the fuck did somebody suggest the ninjas? And saw nothing wrong with that. And it's just like, what the fuck? But these are the same people, again, saying Asian lives matter and Black lives matter. I was in a group chat with one of my old companies. They were talking, because they are based out of Minneapolis, and they said, talking about the George Floyd case, and they're like, oh no, like the day of like George Floyd's case. And it's like, but it's not George Floyd's case. The person that killed him, yes. But they were going from talking about that and then talked about pineapple on pizza. Like, as if the topic of Black Lives Matters can be easily transitioned to do, like, pineapple on pizza. And, like, I think I told you this, but it was, there was, like, during Asian hate crime, we had a meeting, and then right after the meeting ended, it was when the manager at the time created an open space for, like, our Asian coworkers to talk about how they were feeling. And especially, like, during COVID and things like that. Girl, tell me why there was 20 people in the meeting, and then I kid you not, like after like 2 minutes later, there was only 6 people. And guess who was in the meeting? 3 Black women, 2 of my Asian coworkers, and then a man who identified the LGBTQC plus community. So minorities joined the meeting. That's fucked up. That's like, but everybody else.
But nobody else wanted to learn about
No, but then
issues.
Everyone else is gonna say Asian lives matter and Black lives matter, but they don't want to hear it.
And they don't want to learn.
No. So, anyways, this is like it's just like very like fucked up, and it's just like still like even today times like be mindful of what you say to your coworkers, because it's like you just like never know what's gonna maybe trigger that person. But like do research if you like genuinely care about our culture or like our heritage. Like do research, but don't just like say things and then expect like kind of. I don't want to say repercussions, but just, but then still say you're an advocate. You're not an advocate. You're phony as fuck. It's a fake ass advocate. But whatever. I just cannot stand people are like that. They're like, whatever. Anyways, I could go on and on.
Or at least be open to when you receive feedback.
Right. Exactly. Like, I'm not going to have a conversation with you if I don't know you about me going to Southeast Asia. Because I see what you see. I know what I'm like doing. I'm trying to relate to you. But, like, I didn't go to the Philippines. You know what I'm saying? So how does that story even kind of still apply?
Yeah.
And, like, don't ask me if I like to eat fried chicken, or ask me where the best place is to find fried chicken. Bitch, I love it, yes, and I love soul food, but I also love ramen. What the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could eat that shit 24/7, or, like, sushi, or, like, whatever, and it's kind of just, like, yeah, it's just like fucked up. It's like, oh, Black people just eat fried chicken, and it's like just inappropriate stuff. Yeah. But anyways, I kind of like went off a little bit, and we're a little bit like over time, but I just kind of felt like that was something that I feel like we should kind of talk about, because I feel like it's something that like we'll talk about like with each other, but I'm sure there's other people out there who feel like they can't talk about it with other people. So
totally. No, this is good discourse.
Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, that was our final episode for this season. Again, our 17th episode.
I don't know if you guys have feedback or anything that you would like us to do, or any case. If you want to submit a case, maybe we can definitely like look into it. But yeah, let us know your feedback, your thoughts, and look forward to connecting with you guys on our second season of In the Shade.